The pen is one of the world's most important creations in human history. Sadly, not many people seem to know about the evolution of the pen. The first use of a pen was dated as far back as 3000 BC in the Middle East and 1000 BC in the East. Up to 3000 BC, the Egyptians recorded history by carving symbols into stones. However, in 3000 BC, they developed the reed pen. The reed pen is basically a thin strip of wood with a sharpened tip, and this tip is dipped into an inkwell, which then allowed the Egyptians to draw and write on papyrus, which was basically paper at that point of time. This led to the first ever concept of using ink as a form of communication. In 1000 BC, the Chinese developed the ink brush, which was used mainly for communications across the great distances of China. Subsequently, written calligraphy was valued as a form of education and art. The next development in the evolution of the pen came around 600 to 700 AD in Europe. Because the reed pen was unable to retain its sharpness for very long, the Europeans substituted it for a feather of a large bird, which led to the invention of the quill pen. The Asians adopted a similar design, which led to the creation of the Asian bronze stylus. Similarly, the Romans had their own design for their own styluses. As time went on, people started thinking of more ways to improve on the quill pen. The next revolutionary idea appeared around 973 AD. The first concept of an ink storage device as a part of the pen was thought of by the Caliph of Maghreb, Ma'd al-Mu'izz. His words were recorded by the scribes, and when translated today, he appears to be saying that the ink will flow only when there's an intention to write. He also went on to say that it is possible if the god so wills. However, this idea would not come into place until 1827, when a French inventor by the name of Patradge Poinarou designed a pen which was hollow from the inside. The hollow cavity allowed for ink to be stored in the pen itself. The idea behind this mechanism was to use gravity to draw the ink out as the writer writes. This led to the creation of the first fountain pen. As more people started using the fountain pen, the technology was further improved and developed, and in 1884, capillary action was used instead of gravity to draw the ink out of the pen. This was a major breakthrough which led to the design of the modern fountain pen which can be found in the world today. Just 4 years later, the first ever ballpoint pen was invented by the British man by the name of John J. Loud. He thought of using a ball tip to control the flow of the ink. Due to the impractical design of the pen, however, the idea was not commercially accepted and was deemed a failure. People kept on working and improving on the design of the ballpoint pen, and finally, in 1938, Laszlo Biro, a Jewish man, invented the first widely used ballpoint pen. This pen was designed to leave the paper dry and smudge-free when writing. Because the idea was so new, however, not many people accepted it. But the UK Royal Air Force realized that it worked much more effectively at higher altitudes compared to the fountain pen, and this led it to be more widely used during World War II by the British government. In 1945, the ballpoint pen was patented in the US by Milton Reynolds. He advertised his pen to be able to write underwater. However, it was clearly not true because it could barely write on wet paper. Also, the pen was priced at $10 each, which at that time was too expensive, and as a result very few people could afford it, as the price defeated its practical value. As technology improved and competition increased, a more cost-effective alternative was produced in 1949. The company Bic, which became one of the world's largest companies producing pens even in the world today, introduced a ballpoint pen which was priced at only 29 cents each. From then on, there have been various minor developments in the pen. For instance, roughly around 1960, Papermate introduced the felt tip pen. These pens had fibers for its tip instead of the normal metal tip, and thus this pen was more suited for the Eastern writing styles. Almost 20 years later, rollerball pens were developed by Auto Japan. These pens were basically like the ballpoint pens, except that the ink was water-based and the pens were generally smoother. All these developments have led to the pens that can be found in the stationery shops around us today. Hopefully now you have a better understanding of the evolution of the pen and how the modern pen came about.